I forgot all about pumpernickel. That's some dark ass bread right there.
Right now.
Okay, so
Never mind. I'm about to get us in trouble. I'm gonna stop.
so if you observe the bread,
Yes.
most of the time, 90% of the time, I didn't know exactly, but it's very high percent of the time it's in the toaster, it doesn't change color at all.
Oh my God.
Okay? Because it can't change color as long as it's moist.
Okay.
Because the highest temperature you can heat the bread is 212 degrees, and that's not hot enough to toast the bread.
That's it. I mean, that really does make sense. It's like,
think about this, right?
it's like trying to start a fire with green kindling.
You can't. You
Right.
can't. In fact, if you put a green log on an already established fire, the log is not going to ignite. You know what's going to happen? It's going to hiss out all the moisture for the next hour.
Yep.
All right? Because the log can't get hotter than the highest temperature that water can get. And the water that's in the log, it tops out at 212 degrees. You can have a 212-degree log until there's no water left.
That's cool.
And then it'll ignite.
That's right. Oh, wow.
Okay? So your toast in the toaster, if you keep looking at it, it is going to be your white toast. It's going to be white and white and white. And what the heat is doing, it's like, get out of there, you water molecules. Get out, get out. And it's only doing it to the top edge, not to the middle, because the heat is only hitting the top edge, the outer edges, right? So
the heat is like the Black Toast Matters movement. Yeah.
Chuck, you need race counseling, okay? I think you do. All right, so
good.
All right, so once all of the moisture on that outer edge of the bread has evaporated,
right,
it can now toast the bread by breaking apart the bread molecules, the proteins and the carbohydrates, revealing the carbon. The carbon is black. Okay, if you leave the bread in too long, it's completely black. All right, but you have all this golden. That all happens in like the last minute that your toast is in there, because it took all the rest of that time to heat up the water and evaporate it.
That is pretty doggone cool, to be honest. And I got a little excited when you said that, because I've never considered it. However, I don't have a toaster. I have a toaster oven.
Okay, so in the oven, any oven, if you're going to use a broiler, the same thing. You layer the bread, and you check it, and you keep checking it. And say, it's not making progress. Let me go away for 5 minutes. No, because the moment the moisture's gone, that sucker browns in instants.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's not a linear phenomenon. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's kind of like if it were a graph, it would bump along the bottom.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden it shoots straight up almost.
Yeah, almost straight up.
Almost straight up. So, and I know this because just the other day, it's so weird now, I can't believe that I'm recalling this. I said, what's taking this toast so damn long?
You did say that. Okay.
And then I went into the refrigerator, I pulled out some butter and fig spread.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back, and the toast was brown.
There it is.
So that is so wild.
You lived this experience.
I lived this experience.
It's also why you can boil water in a paper cup.
Okay.
Okay, and I've done this experiment many times. So
You must have only had a little bit.
Yeah, you just drop the paper cup inside the pot.
Get a second serving.
Okay.
No, that's not what
You got a game tomorrow.
You can take a paper
Go
cup.
get more.
And you have to be careful about this, because some paper cups have rims on the bottom that are not actively touching the water on the inside. That will burn. Okay? Well, if you have a wide enough bottom and you have like a Bunsen burner, remember these? And you put the flame on the paper cup in the bottom. If the paper cup has water in it, what is the hottest temperature the paper can get? The temperature of the water. Okay, and so it'll sit there and boil the water. And it'll keep boiling the water until all the water evaporates. Then your paper cup burns. This is why it's so hard to burn someone at the stake. You think, oh, let me just ignite you. This is very medieval here. Let's put you on the stake and just ignite you. You can't just ignite. Okay? You know, there's liquid in you.
Right. The real reason why this is very difficult to do is because we have laws against that.
That's why. Okay. That's the actual reason it's difficult. Thank you. Let me get out of my medieval. So what they would do, especially the Catholic Church, to make sure you would burn, that sometimes they would burn you upside down, and that way will control the blood. Where the blood would drain, and as the blood drains, then you have no liquid left in you, and you burn faster. Or you can burn in other directions where you retain the blood, because if you don't want the blood to come out, there's some other religious ritual where the whole person has to be burned, including their blood. But then the blood has to still evaporate before so you'll die before that happens, of course. But in terms of igniting the body, it just doesn't simply happen that way. And this is sped up if you have fast-moving air, hot air across the food.
Yes.
This is like a wind heat factor.
Mm-hmm.
We have an explainer on wind chill factor and wind heat factors.
Yes.
Okay. Because if it's cold and the wind is blowing, you feel colder.
Colder.
If it's hot and the air that's blowing is hotter than your skin temperature, you'll feel hotter.
Right.
Okay. So if you put food in, let's say, an air fryer,
yes.
What does that mean? Okay. So they are going to brown your food fast because they're moving hot air across and they're evaporating any possible moisture on that surface. And the faster the wind goes, the faster you'll evaporate it, and the faster you can get to the browning.
Can't live without an air fryer. I'm sorry. It's amazing. They're wonderful.
Yeah, they're really air toasters.
Yes.
Because, unless the surface is sprinkled with oil, and then the oil will fry you can heat the oil. So you're still oil frying, but you're using air to heat the oil to fry the food.
Right.
But if it didn't have any oil, it's just a fast toaster.
Exactly. You mean I spent $400 on a toaster? Yes, you did.
Yes,
you did. You did indeed.
So that's everything you wanted to know about toast and why it's not a linear process.
Well, that was fun.
And what did you do? Do this experiment.
Okay.
Take a slice of bread and leave it out until it just gets hard.
Okay.
Just leave it out. Okay. It won't get crusty. It'll just get hard. It's no longer squishy. And then you have another one that's squishy that you just took out of the bag.
Okay.
They're both at the same temperature.
Right.
Okay. Now put them both in your toaster oven, or both in the toaster, and the one that had the lost moisture will toast 10 times faster.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there you go. So yeah, and it's already on its way to being toast.
That's right.
You leave it out. Why don't you leave the bread out?
Pre-toasting the bread. Pre-toasting. Pre-toasting.
Pre-toast.
And one other thing, a reminder of how surface deep the color is.
Okay.
Because it's only what that sort of radiant energy can touch. And anything's behind anything else, it's not seeing your toaster thing, all right? So a reminder of that is if you happen to burn the toast, you just take a bread knife, or a knife, not a knife, and scrape off the black.
Right.
I think you could eat a little more if you coming down here.
Salvage many a burnt toast that way.
Oh,
Finish that.
You could just accept the fact that it is black and enjoy it.
I can scoop it for you if you need help. Or you could do it yourself. Do it now.
Yeah, Chuck definitely needs race therapy. We're going to work on this.
Take all of it.
So
come on, man. I'm about to, they about to score on me, man. I gotta.
The thermodynamics.
Damn.
Of toasting.
That is awesome. We gotta title this just that: the thermodynamics of toasting.
Okay, for the toast. Yeah, and so the takeaway here is, however long you're staring at the unbrowned toast, let that not be the measure of how much longer you have to wait.
Yes.
What you doing for? You don't see food on the plate? I said finish food on the plate. Damn, son. I got these niggas scoring because I got a fucking spoon feed my fucking running back. This is garbage. Good job. You had that's 2 plates. Come here. That's your second plate. You ever had 2 plates? Which I have. What is that? Steak fettuccine, steak broccoli. How is it? 1 to 10. The noodles plain? The steak plain? So why the hell are you giving it a 9? So why you giving it a 9? That is too dry. Then 9 mean almost perfect. Oh, all right. You don't even know how to rate food. Come on, now, G.
So, Chuck, I'm going to tell you how to boil water.
So for this explainer, I am going to go and get a sandwich.
You fill a pot with water. Now you put it on the stove. Then you turn on the heat, be it electric, coil, or gas.
This is groundbreaking stuff.
So you're heating the pan, right? And then the bottom of the pot is heating the bottom of the water.
That makes sense so far.
So you'd expect the water at the bottom of the pot to be hotter than the water at the top of the pot.
Yeah.
So as it gets hot, the water molecules vibrate faster and faster.
Right.
If you're a molecule sitting next to me, and you're not vibrating as fast as I am,
I'm like, calm down, man, calm down.
Jeez. But you will ultimately succumb. And my vibrations will send you into vibrating. You will send adjacent molecules next to you. It's called conduction. It's how, if you have a fireplace poker or the handle of an iron pan on the stove, pan gets hot, eventually the handle gets hot.
Lord, have I learned that the hard way.
Okay, so the iron molecules start vibrating, and they tickle the molecules next to it, set them vibrating. That is heat energy going out of the pan, up the handle to your hand to burn you, unless you get a puddle. Right? So the liquid will conduct heat until that's not fast enough. Conducting is slow. You could hold the handle of an iron pan for at least 5 minutes.
Long time.
Meanwhile, you're frying an egg, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a point where the heat is vibrating the molecules faster than the molecules can communicate that fact to molecules above.
Aha.
So the solution to this is blobs of water rise up from the bottom. You don't see the early bits of this, okay? Because the water is completely transparent and there aren't any bubbles yet.
Right.
But the hot water rises, physically moves. That can't happen in your iron pan because it's solid. The iron can only move heat through conduction.
Right.
But the moment the heat becomes significant, whole pockets of water will rise up, replaced with cool pockets of water that were above that come in below. If I rise up, something's got to take its place.
Right.
If you want to test this next time, put in a few raisins at the bottom.
Sounds like an awful dish.
So you'll see the raisin bob up and down inside the liquid.
Ooh.
And it's doing that because it's following
the pockets of water.
There you go. So convection is a way to get heat from one place to the other by physically moving blobs of the stuff. And so convection can happen in solids, but it can happen in liquids and in air, gas. Okay. But it's not boiling.
I believe you. Go ahead, baby. I believe.
It's boiling when at the bottom of the stove, it is so hot, the water at the base of the pot turns into steam.
Wait, inside.
Inside.
Wow.
So you have a ball of steam there, and so plus it's gas. Gas underwater is going to rise fast.
Exactly.
Now the early bubbles of steam, these are cool. The early bubbles, you'll see them start, and as they move their way up, they get smaller and smaller, and they disappear. Because the water above that layer is not at boiling temperature yet.
It's cool.
It's cooler. So it's cooling down this steam bubble, turning it back into water.
Interesting.
So when the bubble is formed and keeps the same size the entire route to the top, then you have 212 degrees boiling water.
So boiling water is really just water farting, basically.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Chuck. If you fart in a swimming pool, that bubble will not disappear. That'll just stay a bubble all the way up.
That's the easiest way to get kicked out of a pool party. Why are there bubbles coming from yours too?
Okay. Coming from your rear end. No, none of what I just said is why I have this explainer with you.
Okay, plot twist.
Have you ever had a pure pot of water boil over?
Oh, no, it never boils over.
But wait, when you make spaghetti, it can boil over.
Yes, it can.
What is the most boil over substance known to man in the morning stove?
The most oatmeal.
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 Oatmeal. Oatmeal. So why does water not boil over, but oatmeal does? Why? I will tell you.
I'm ready.
There they are, slowly coming up to temperature. The pure water gets to 212. A blob of steam rises up and escapes the top.
Right.
What happens to that same blob of steam in the oatmeal? It can't get out.
Right.
There's oatmeal in the way, but it has to get out.
Right.
Thermodynamically, it has to escape. So you have these bubbles, and they say, we're getting out no matter what. We're busting loose out of this pot. And the only way to do that is to expand the layers of oatmeal so that it has pockets of water that it can come out through. If you start out with a pot of oatmeal that's 1/3 full, that puppy will expand to the complete height of the pan so that the steam can get out. The sun, when it dies, you always heard it say it becomes a red giant. Right. When the sun dies, it runs out of hydrogen in its core. Converted all the hydrogen to helium. All right? There's a certain luminosity associated with that. Fine. Now I just have helium. What's next? The sun collapses, then it starts fusing helium into carbon. That happens at a higher luminosity. The sun gets brighter. More energy is coming in from the core of the sun. But wait, that energy can't get out of the previous sun. That's the same problem with the oatmeal. Okay? The previous sun had a transparency of energy to it that gave it its current size.
Right.
When you boost the energy level of the core, it can't get out until it busts out. And it is going to get out. And en route, it takes the sun and swells it into the size of a red giant star. Now the energy can get out. And it goes from its current size to hundreds of times bigger.
Oh my goodness.
You thought your oatmeal spilled over. The sun is basically spilling over out of its pot.
Wow.
Which is why, if you want to tame the oatmeal, you have to lower the heat.
Lower the heat
as much as you can. You can't do that to the sun. The sun is stuck with the high energy. It's going to puff up and become a huge red giant star. So, under high heat, the oatmeal wants to become a big giant star, basically, trying to get the energy out.
Right, right.
Lower the heat, which the sun doesn't have the power to do. Now it can bubble.
So the sun has no choice but to go ahead and keep expanding.
Correct.
Until it becomes its own delicious breakfast explosion.
Whereas you, the chef in the morning, have the option to lower the heat on the oatmeal.
Right.
So the oatmeal boils over for the same reason the sun gets big. Energy can't get out, and it has to thin things up above it so that the energy can find its way out. And it does.
What? All right, put the clothes from the washer in the drawer. Go ahead. What you going upstairs for, nigga? The clothes right there. You fucking. What the fuck you got in your hands? My clothes. Damn, mother!
Jeff,
Yes.
I got some obscure stuff to share with you.
My favorite, obscure.
I don't know if it'll be worth it, but let me test it out on you. What distinguishes a rocket from an airplane, among many things, is that a rocket has to work as it ascends the atmosphere where there's less and less oxygen.
Okay.
So it can't depend on oxygen in the air for the combustion in the rocket. Whereas an airplane, it doesn't have to carry its oxygen because the oxygen is sitting there minding its own business in the atmosphere.
And the airplane sucks it in and
mix it with the fuel and ignites it, and there you have it. So the way they say that in rocket lingo is the rocket carries its own oxidizer.
oh, okay.
The space shuttle, which doesn't launch anymore, had two different kinds of fuel. You've heard of the solid rocket boosters on the
Who
side.
that? Bo?
We still use those today. You know how they burn? They burn from the middle outward, as though you're unraveling a toilet paper roll from the center.
Interesting.
So if you have a toilet paper roll, remove the cardboard, and then you just start pulling on it.
Right.
It slowly unravels from the center. So in a solid rocket booster, it's a cylindrical core of fuel, and as it burns, it only has one exit hole, and that's the bottom.
Right.
And that exit hole gets wider and wider and wider as it continues to burn. It ablates that inner surface until it runs out completely, and then you're done, and then you drop them off, and you keep going.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's how the solid rocket boosters work. By the way, once they're ignited, you can't shut them off.
I hope you're igniting them at the right time.
And they're clamped down until they ignite, and then when they ignite, they break away because you can't. There's no stopping them. Once they're lit, the shuttle's off. Okay, it's like there it is. You can't do anything until they're done. Whereas the main engine, you can throttle it. You can go high or low. The main engine was that big orange segment, and that has two tanks in it, hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen tank is twice as big as the oxygen tank.
I think I'm hearing a little H2 and
H2.
and one O.
Oh, how do you concentrate the most amount of this hydrogen gas and oxygen gas? You liquefy it.
Right.
So you chill it so that it liquefies, and then you have a rather extensive set of valves and nozzles that recombine the hydrogen and the oxygen, and that is highly exothermic, which means it releases energy. And what is the waste product?
Well, it's got to be water.
Water. There it is.
So that begs the question, why isn't all of our fuel done this way? I mean, the planet is dying. We actually have this technology.
Some cars, they call hydrogen fuel cells.
Okay, that's right.
Now, hydrogen is very flammable. So I don't know if they've worked out the engineering mechanics of how to make that practical.
How to pull that together without blowing everybody up.
Right, exactly.
A little like, oh, the humanity every other day.
Doc, did you know that when Orson Welles did the radio play of H.G. Wells's War of the Worlds,
Right.
he studied the vocal intonations of that announcer
You're kidding me.
and copied them for the announcer who saw the aliens,
Making everything sound that much more dramatic and tragic.
and tragic and real and scary. You ever notice when it launches, a few seconds later, it executes the what?
The roll.
The roll program. What I'm about to describe is you for everything that goes in orbit. Half the energy of that rocket is not there to get it up into space. Half the energy is to take it downrange.
Ah,
That's why every rocket you've ever seen launch doesn't just keep going up.
right.
Ever stop and wonder?
When I was younger and I would watch these launches because they were such a big thing and you had to watch them, but even in school, I used to think, well, they're never going to make it to space. They're going sideways.
That's an observant point to make. So it goes from 0 miles per hour to 18,000 miles per hour sideways.
Nice.
Because once the rockets stop,
Right.
Does it fall out of the sky now?
No.
Wait, it achieves orbit. So what is orbit? There's that one magic speed where you are going so fast downrange that you are falling to Earth at the same rate that Earth is curving away from you. And Isaac Newton first demonstrated that, and that is the definition of an orbit. You don't need rockets. You will stay in that configuration. So my only point is, so many people look at rocket launchers and think they're going up into space.
Right.
When what we call space in the zero-G environment, when people go, is orbit.
Right.
You go into orbit around Earth, and they're not very high above Earth's surface, a couple hundred miles. That's it. That's the distance from New York to Boston.
Yeah.
New York to Washington, D.C. You could drive that distance in 4 hours.
Yep.
Obeying speed limits. It's just something that people might not have noticed. Now, if you're not going into orbit, then all of your energy is going to just go up, and then you just drop back to Earth. The Bezos-Branson billionaire boys race. Okay.
Bezos-Branson's billionaire's voice race. That's
Boys race. Okay.
I love it.
All right. Elon went into orbit.
Right.
My man Elon knows what orbit is.
He knew that he had to get out of here. He knew.
He needs an escape bag.
He was like, I'm planning for the future, and I'm going to find a way to get out of here. I'm planning for the future.
When the pitchforks are coming.
Okay. Bezos and Branson, they can come back. They got a place to come back to. I know. I got to go.
So they, Bezos and Branson, what they're doing is they're going up and then shutting off their engines and just falling back to Earth.
Right.
They land in the same place they took off from. All right. So they didn't go downrange at all. They did not go into orbit. So they go up and then they fall. And while you are falling, where there's no air molecules, which is that famous Kármán line that they reach, you drop you from there, you are weightless. I'll tell you one last thing, which is completely obscure, is for physics geeks out there.
Okay.
There's something called the Brachistochrone problem.
Okay, now you certainly are going deep now. This is a deep cut on the B-side.
Let's have a round ball,
right,
at some height, and it wants to get to the bottom of the hill. The question is, what shape should that hill take so that the ball gets to the bottom of the hill fastest? If you make the hill just a straight line from where it is to the bottom, okay, it'll roll down and it'll get there.
Yes.
But if you make the hill drop first and then curve out the bottom, you can get some serious speed here, and that stuff will roll out fast. Okay? This is called the Brachistochrone problem.
Nice.
And it requires sort of Hamiltonian representations of the energy of the system to solve it. Okay? The Bernoulli brothers posed these to each other. They were two math brainiacs. Anyhow, the solution to this problem is first a drop, a pretty steep drop, before it curls out to the bottom. And that will beat the straight line every time. Of course, that curve, if you flip it up, that is the trajectory to launch your rocket.
Watch out. Yo, that is a physics mic drop right there. Yeah.
So that's how to get into orbit the most efficiently.
It's very elegant, by the way.
Yeah, and it's just an interesting question. When you're curious and you're mathematically literate and you know a little bit of physics, these questions come up in your life, and you're compelled to solve them, as the Bernoulli brothers did.
Nice. Well, those Bernoulli brothers, you know, they were something at a cocktail party, that's for sure.
So, unfortunately, they never knew that this was also a rocket solution for them. But
that is really super cool.
All right. That's been another Star Talk Explained with my co-host. friend and buddy, Douglas.
All this pleasure.
Neil deGrasse Tyson here. Absolutely. Hey, start talking. We're about to listen to the session. Sir. Welcome. Start your place in the universe where science and pop culture collide. Startup begins right now. Today is Cosmic Breakfast. That's one of our favorite forms. Everybody love it. Everybody love it. And we are as educated. So, but this is Cosmic Breakfast of a topic we've never discussed before.
We never know.
Yeah, but
And the topic is deep space, deep thoughts, deep questions.
well, wait, Chuck, you gotta give it your deepest thoughts.
Okay, here we go.
And by the way, we did this one yesterday, and I think I beat you by half a tone or something.
Yeah.
Just here, look here.
Here we go. Deep thoughts. Yeah, you got me already. See, I gotta drink scotch for this.
And smoke a cigar.
Yeah, I got to smoke a cigar.
Smoke and that alcohol just picks that right up.
Then it becomes a deep voice and like somewhat Harvey Firestein.
Oh, raspy.
Yeah, it's like
raspy.
deep thoughts.
Thoughts.
Oh my God.
Well, the accent.
Deep thoughts.
Thoughts. Scotch doesn't give you the Harvey Firestein accent. That'd be pretty cool to make today. So,
Someone call me. I've had too much drink.
all right, let's get. And I like these thoughts because usually there isn't a right answer, so you just get to sort of play with it and see where it takes you.
Yeah, so this is deep
All right.
questions only.
Let's do it.
So
Let's do it from our fan base.
from our fan page, and here's the question from Jonathan West. And Jonathan says, or asks, what boggles your mind? That's the thought of endless time or the thought of endless space. So it's impossible to truly contemplate endless time because you spend the rest of your existence doing so.
Well, here's thought. There's a beautiful frontier of research done in the field of neuroscience. So I have two questions related to that boggle mind. Okay. Can the human brain figure out if it is the human brain that actually creates the human? That's what I'm saying. Or do you need something outside of it that is greater, smarter, different, so that it can come in and understand that and so test it.
Wow.
Now, so I'm saying this thing that humans are the universe's way to understand itself.
The universe is understanding itself
Through humans, sure. Without humans, there'd be no thoughts to do that. But however, that elevates us higher than I'm prepared to do. Because you said we are the measure of what is intelligent in this universe.
well, we
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that statement, that Carl Sagan statement, is kind of like a cosmological Descartes. That's like the universe, the Descartes universe.
I think before I am
Yes.
kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
But it's like we think, therefore you are.
Count. We think therefore you are. Right. I think therefore I am.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Just end the show right now. We ain't surpassing that thought. Thank you for watching. It's downhill from here. So I wonder For example, wait. Well, you go to Chimpanzee and say, tomorrow morning at 8:30, let's go to Starbucks and have a cup of coffee. Nothing in that sentence makes any sense to a chimpanzee or everywhere. I'm just saying, Starbucks figured out.
Yeah, Starbucks has got to be selling chips coffee somehow, some way.
That might have hyper the food.
Exactly. You know what I mean? You go to get your coffee, you're just like, here it is, George. Eat that muffin. Okay.
Wait. Here's why I say this. I say this many times. I've written it, I've said it to your face. All right. So about 1% difference in DNA between this and chicken. Yet we like to think of ourselves as highly superior intellectually. Maybe the difference in our brain is as small as that 1%. So that
Yeah. Mm.
So, the whole thing might be some type of like science experiment by some alien kid now. That's
what up?
yes.
But all the simulation we got a house.
That's so funny. What a Minecraft and some other alien
Minecraft. Yes.
Wow. Wow, that yeah.
And then if things get too peaceful and stable, well, a politician, a war, thinks the person, go and think, and then, oh, now it's entertaining. It's just entertaining.
It's the best thing thing. Wow, that's
is boggling my simple.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very simple.
Are we not?
Okay.
Mm.
Oh, wow.
Here's my one. Because the students are knowledge systems. You don't have to invent nothing. You just use it. Right. Learn it and use it. So I have a feeling that we have every next generation that has sort of brilliant people in the future doesn't understand that the universe is wrong. Right. So, just get that answer.
Well, with that in mind, I think that the next research that we can do is that we will create an intelligence greater than our own. That's really this is
Yeah. But that intelligence will say, we don't need you.
and you know what?
You have the same device. That's what happened.
Yeah.
You're a virus.
I'm smelling this.
No, you're smelling.
Oh, that's right.
Get your matrix. If you would go there in front of me, that's my favorite movie. Don't even.
What out of the chair? Yeah. Smell. Yeah. So if you guys pass really serious appeal for the computer to tell you, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Boo!
So this is Alex Bread, 66 grams of Alex Bread says this. If universe needs not make any sense to us, then what is the point of doing science? The science not in fact at this point trying to grasp what's around us. By the way, is this statement not eventually heard one, which is that way.
But the shorter version of that is God was to the truth. So that's so good. We can't say it first. The Lord says, well, it's kind of so God is good. God is good. That's what. So now it's just like saying, God is good. We can say that. God is most hated God in our culture is the one represented on the show.
Oh, that's so true.
Acts of God.
Acts of God.
Right. It's only very bad things.
Oh,
no one said, flowers blooms in your garden, an act of God.
Right.
No, it's Robin took out their house. You're homeless on the street, act of God.
Wow, look at that. This moment of God hates you. Brought to you by Farmers Exchange. That's it.
What's that one? Nationwide.
Not on your side. Nationwide is on your side. All right. So, it's a email now. Okay, so.
Mm-mm.
So is science, in fact, the discipline of trying to grasp what is around us?
Okay, so when he started quoting where I said, I opened my book, astrophysics, people in the house, right? It's a quote. Universe is under no obligation to make sense. What that means is your five traditional senses rose up out of the Serengeti, which help us not get eaten by lions, right? Right? They're very good at that. They're not as good at contemplating infinity. They're not good at contemplating timescales much longer than your life expectancy. You can't intuit billions of years. You can't intuit infinitesimal. There are things that are hard for us. Right? There are things that may even be impossible for us. Can you picture a five-dimensional cube?
No, I cannot.
No, you cannot. Can you picture a four-dimensional cube?
Probably not.
Why not? The tesseract.
Yeah. I can actually picture that. I've seen it. Do you really? Yeah. Oh wait, well,
Not bringing it.
maybe yeah. Another episode.
It'll be the episode of higher dimension. The whole thing is higher dimension. We did it already. Did I have a tesseract?
I'm glad you
Okay. I took this from Thanos. So, what are going to reduce what is or is not true in the universe, right? Your senses are not the most reliable measure of whether it's true. Because senses give you a restricted understanding of what's actually going on in the universe. Your eyes, you would never trade them for anything, yet they only expose your mind to a very tiny, narrow strip of all the electromagnetic signals. You can't see infrared. You can feel it as heat. You can't see it. Ultraviolet, you can't see that either. You can feel that in a delayed sense by getting something from the That's telling you that it's a time delay. But keep going out. There's infrared, violet, X-ray, gamma rays. You can't see anything. But the universe is talking to you. So are you going to say, my senses give me everything that there is in the universe, and therefore it makes sense? No. As long as we detect things that fall outside of our senses, it's a challenge to declare that what we say and discovering makes sense. The very statement makes sense means your senses can contemplate it, that your senses have experience. If I let go of a ball and it floats up, you say that doesn't make sense. Because your senses always told you if you let go of a ball, it drops, right? And in fact, the very statement, let it go, not the frozen, not the frozen, but just let it go, means drop it. They mean the same thing. But that can only be true on Earth with the force of gravity pointing down. In space, in orbit, you let go of constant things like that. Things like this. So, like,
yeah. I must be in space. With all my problems, somebody says drop it. I said, I get that over there, right? Still here.
you let it go.
Exactly.
So, my point is, the message tools of science give you a way to understand what is true without it being hinged on whether your senses think it's true. Nice. So the message until you have access to truth, which is still from you, where God works in mysterious ways, kind of ends that conversation. Whereas I say, I've developed a new instrument that can see in ways humans cannot. Oh my gosh, that's opened the entire world of the rest of the entire branches.
All right.
I'm Alexander. I support Star Talk on Patreon. This is Star Talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay, here we go.
So, this is from Properly Asleep.
That's the name of the person. Okay. I like your mama didn't like you.
How long do you think the human race will have to survive? Wow. I mean, there's precedent for that, right?
Well, so you can look at what is the average life expectancy of mammal species. And last I checked, it was around 2 million years, something like that. And so we've been around. We have a long way to go. We've been around, a couple 100,000 years in our current anatomical form, Cro-Magnon form, right? And so that means we have a long way to go. But this presumes that the species is not smart enough to kill itself.
Well, then it's over. It was nice talking, you guys.
Yeah, we have invented multiple ways to kill ourselves. And I don't think the elephants did it. Or, nobody else did this. No, the mice, no, they're not killing themselves. Right? Humans, yes.
Maybe cockroaches are great. No, since when everything's gone, they're going to be the only ones left. And it's,
No, they don't have to invent us in the first place. They're kind of using it.
they want everything else gone.
So they need us to build a structure, but they said,
Right.
it's
But, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But so I think what you're really asking is in your estimate, from your sage opinion,
I give
how
us,
long do you think people will last?
I give us,
Oh, yeah.
no, I think it will. This is why many people want to become a two-planet species. Terraform Mars, send some humans there. So if something bad happens on Earth, we'll have humans somewhere else.
Wow, that is not encouraging at all.
Not for half the people who are on the planet. That's not,
Yeah.
So if an asteroid comes, if a killer virus, if AI gets out of hand.
So I understand something with a remnant for survival of the species. That's extraneous. I mean, that's something that's outside of our own destruction. And even though we could stop an asteroid from hitting us,
We know how. We just ain't nobody doing it.
that's what
We
I'm
know
saying. We put the resources there, so we can stop even that one.
So what's the example you're giving?
So what do you mean? To stop the asteroid?
No. What is so?
So what I'm saying is, will we ever get to a point where as the Buddhist monks call it, the so-called monkey brain that causes us to do so much destructive work to each other and to the planet? Will we ever get to a place where we overcome that, where we're able to train those who come behind us to overcome that?
Okay.
Now, it does happen in some people.
Again, first, I've never heard a Buddhist monk say the phrase monkey brain. This is a thing?
This is
Okay,
a
fine.
thing. That is a
I'm
thing.
going to attend more monasteries. You feel a monkey brain today? All right. So, I've heard of reptilian brain, but not monkey brain.
Yes.
Okay. So, the reptilian brain is reference something primal that goes on to think. So, if we follow the reasoning by Stephen Pinker in his book, The Better Angels of Our Nature, we study the likelihood of you dying before maturity, or dying before adulthood. We're just dying at the hands of another human. From early days of tribal warfare to modern days of state-sanctioned global war. And what he found is that the likelihood of you dying in that way has been dropping ever since. Okay. So tribal warfare teaches us to kill maybe a third or half of the other tribe, or the entire tribe, and then you win and you get their land. It doesn't happen. The state surrenders before that happens, saving the lives of the rest of the population. If you look at, I did this just recently, look at what countries had the greatest percent of their population die in the Second World War. Was it Belarus? One of them is very high, it's like a third. Right? I forgot the exact numbers, but they're high. But they're not a half. You keep going down, and you get to even Quebec, Germany, even ones that are heavily bombed, Germany, Japan, a fraction of the total population. That is not how it's stand in trouble. So, now consider that even so, during the Second World War, between 1939 and 1945, 1,000 humans were killed by other humans per hour, for every hour from 1939 to 1945. Is that going on today? No. No.
We're really slipping.
Stop. So,
We really got to pick up our game.
just so we can make it. So, the point is, often that era is called the greatest generation. People, because they fought, evil forces and, this sort of thing. Although my father fought in his Second Army, and he's not thinking that was the greatest generation. He has other perspectives on that period. But the point is the greatest generation the one where the fewest fraction of everyone dies? Out of hate. We might have a lot of hate, But if the number of people who die from it is lower than ever before,
Right.
then this part that you were hitting, that maybe a next generation learned from the previous one, maybe that's going to work. Europe, with all of their turbulence and turmoil, they actually haven't been at war with each other for 70 years.
Right.
Is there another 70-year period in the history of Europe where nobody was fighting with anybody?
No,
I don't think so.
now that Twitter has anything to do with it.
Well, like I said, if Twitter existed
Back then,
oh,
let me tell you something. The war wouldn't have stopped until everybody was dead. We'd take it like people would have said, I surrender. A tweet would have gone out and be like, I take this back. Let's keep fighting. Let's keep fighting. I don't care.
I hate war.
That's right.
So maybe we are getting kinder, but time still needs to bear that out on a level that would please everyone. But I still worry that this primal brain will always segregate us all by some arbitrary factor and thereby justify doing things.
Interesting. That's, I think you're right.
Who's the comedian? Was it Franklin or John? One of these guys from the set back in the day. In the day. He was talking about who hates who in the world, right? And he said, read the papers. And what? In Northern Ireland, the Protestants and the Catholics are fighting each other. And they're both white. He said, no, I don't have a chance. I'm black.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah, right. If white people divide themselves up in that way,
Right.
two Christian communities hating each other,
Right. Yeah.
and they're both white, and they're both Christian, and they're both.
It's over for you, brother.
It's over. It's over for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
People can kill each other for those reasons. Almost no hope. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I don't have a good answer.
No, that was a pretty good answer. The answer is we're not going to make it.
I'd like to think we go thousands of years into the future to possibly outlive this something.
All right. That'd be great.
Like star hopping, another planetary system.
That's, I'm just going to say that's the because I won't be here. So that's
Maybe it has been said that the first person who will never die is
what? That's it. Well,
that's not how you do it.
I know what you're saying.
So they get some new thing that makes you live an extra 50 years. But I think 150 years, 700. And then someone in there, there's another thing we get now, you can live another 200 years. So the 150 goes to 250. Now you can live 500 years. Now you can live 1,000. You can live 5,000 years. So as we progress in our understanding of what ages do, if you can reverse that or prevent it from ever advancing, the person, there's someone alive today who will benefit.
That's pretty cool. I like it.
So if that happens, you better find another planet.
That's the premise of a so-called altered carbon, where people actually take their consciousness and put it into what they call the sleeve, which is the body. So it's,
I think I voiceover opening.
we had that conversation. You told me that. That's what I was.
I don't remember if it was the pilot or the other show, but I did it. I lent my voice to the cause.
Nice. All right. Well, let's go to Joey 24, Joey Jr. 24. He says this, the personal question. Based on all your experiences and knowledge thus far, personal for me or personal for you? Yeah, nobody asked me anything. He says, based on all of your experiences and knowledge thus far, what do you think the meaning of our human existence is? He just asked you, what is the meaning of life according to Neil deGrasse Tyson?
Okay. So, in my next book, I don't never hear me plug my stuff.
I was going to say, here's the meaning of life right now.
Look at the letters from
You know what?
yeah, correspondence I've had with people who've had similar guesses about their existence.
Well, it's not so good. It's not about that.
No, well,
It's about all different kinds of
well,
letters.
all kinds of letters, but a very recurring theme is that people want to know the meaning of life in their time, the significance of their life in this world.
Yeah.
And some of them come from religious angles, some are secular, but everybody's got this burning.
Yes.
So here's how I get that. Others do it other ways. Okay. But here's how I deal with it. Many people are in search of the meaning of life as well.
Right. Right. And my nose is a bit Get it back. Get a paper clip. It's in that trunk drawer. Not like underwear drawer. It's that drawer where go to look for stamps and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. In the kitchen somewhere.
Right.
So, if you're looking for something,
Mm-hmm.
they never come. So instead, recognize that you have the power to manufacture. Create it within yourself. That's what I'm thinking. My meaning, quality is derived by several simple things. Have I lessened the suffering of others? Because that means the world is a little better off if I was in it today. If after your day is over, the world is worse off, you're subtracted.
That's what feels. And then every day somebody's like that, mother. But go ahead.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so lessen the suffering of others. Somewhat, right? Doesn't mean you direct your whole life, mind, body, and soul, but you can help someone also an aging person. Do make a little child laugh. Just put a little bit of joy in the world to lessen the suffering. I also try to learn something. Now, I like being a perpetual student. Most people hate it. This is sad. School's finished. What do? You run down the steps. School is out for the summer. That attitude captured in that song is as though you don't want to do this. And what's your only job in school? To learn. And somehow that's a chore. I don't blame you for feeling that way. I blame the school system for not instilling within us eternal curiosity. No, if you spend more years of your life not in school than in school, and so if you have curiosity, you can be a lifelong learner. And so I want to lessen the suffering of others and make sure I learn something more about the world today than I did yesterday. And who's to say whether that experience we're going to learn can help me be better at lessening the suffering of others. So that is how I make meaning in life. And as a result, I don't college and I read a little bit, a little stash in my bed, and I type them out. And every day I try to have a harder now to recognize, but I try to help people every day. Full strength. Yeah. So you can make meaning. You can't look for it. You can make never.
I'm going to say, as a philosophy, that's happening. That's in the book.
I wrote that in the book.
Yes. Thank you. From Ninja Jazzy, whatever, I don't know, said, I keep hearing the phrase, the vacuum of space. How exactly is it a vacuum?
Right. Okay. So when I was a kid, the vacuum was a physical object. When I think physicists speak of the vacuum in space, I just imagine Ubers
Right.
in the sky. I didn't know that the vacuum was a thing. It was a concept, and then you make a machine that duplicates that thing. I just didn't know it. So I got it. Okay. So a vacuum is where there's no air. Okay. You can have objects there, but when we think of a vacuum, it's not a place where there isn't anything. It's a place where there's no air bubble. Generally, you can have some, and you would still classify it as a vacuum. But you have to distinguish like a regular old vacuum or a perfect vacuum. Right? So you know what happens if there's an object, you take away one of the air molecules. Objects out there. They're air molecules. They then on the surface of that object, you start to have that. Then you heat it, it sends out more. So it's very hard to make a perfect vacuum. Very hard. So here's an old saying. Nature abhors a vacuum. These are people who've never been in space. Most of the universe is a vacuum. Nature loves vacuum.
Nice.
A vacuum. So, that's what we Trump fan. Vacuum. Trump fan vacuum. We got the best. There's another saying. There's no such thing as gravity. Earth sucks. Okay. Okay. So the point is, when there's a source of gravity, well, the air wants to go to that source of gravity, and it leaves a vacuum everywhere else. So vacuum is simply where there's no air, and it's not anything. The odd thing in the universe is that you have a place where gas molecules collect. Those are the unusual places in the universe, and they're called stars and reaction planets, and the atmosphere is a rock. Yeah, so they have a vacuum. So Chuck, I want to put this closure of this vacuum. Okay. This is the third book. Oh, okay. Just this is all right, and it's a collection of Q&A. I call it. Had this opinion for people that have fun with play professional. That's the collection. This is like decades old, but there's some timeless content. Somebody asked about the vacuum. We can't read otherwise. Okay. Here it is. The best vacuum you will find anywhere. The best vacuum you'll find anywhere, according to 4 out of 5 vacuums, and 5 out of 5 astronomers, is the void of intergalactic space. What we can then ask, intergalactic space.
You heard.
It still contains space. Feel obliged to call intergalactic space nothing, and you must invent a word to refer to the region outside of the universe. In this location, you're observing space. That's called nothing. That place where there's not even nothing. It's just nothing. Wow. I like that. Chuck, you want some more vacuum fun?
Of course. I feel like you just showed up at my door and dumped some dirt on my carpet.
More vacuum fun.
Okay, that's
that's like black hole.
right.
So in chapter about really dense.
Okay.
That's
So then I know a great deal of it.
The range of measured density within our universe is staggering with law. We find the highest density within Tulsa, where neutrons are so tightly packed. One thinking would weigh about as much as a third of 50 million molecules.
50 million.
And then a mass disappears into thin air. And imagine, nobody tells you that thin air already contains over 10 septillion atoms. Wow. Thin air. Okay. The best laboratory vacuum chambers can pump down to as few as 10 billion atoms. Best vacuum.
That's the best vacuum.
In a few minutes, 10 billion air molecules are still walking around. Interplanetary space gets down to about 10 million atoms. While interstellar space is as low as 500,000 atoms.
Now, that is nothing.
That is,
Wow.
that is nothing. Okay.
500,000
Mm.
The word for nothing must be given to the space between the galaxies. Intergalactic space, where it is difficult to find more than a few atoms for every 10. And cubic meters.
Wow.
That went.
That's almost nothing. That's almost nothing.
All right. We're going to go into a deep lightning round.
Really, we only have 5 minutes left.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, here we go. This is Ja Saldana says, right now, what should be the priority in the field of space exploration? Like searching for potential threats of another kind of search, or is there just no target this matter at all? Greetings from Mexico.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what is it? Are we looking for light?
Because my opinion, I got an opinion.
Exploration?
I got
Life? Go ahead.
an opinion.
All right, go ahead.
I want to do it all.
Why not do it?
One and
All of the above.
all of the above. Because the moment you do this and not that,
Right.
they say, why are you doing that and not that? Oh, because we voted that way? But maybe you don't know why you should do that,
Right.
and you want to do that. Some people want to do that. Here's what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You don't build a road just from New York to LA. You build roads everywhere. So that, yeah, I want to visit that forest. I want to visit this Rocky Monument. I want to do things that are not prescribed by you.
I'm going to see the biggest ball of yarn ever.
Exactly. Right? So what you do is you make a spaceship that is modern. Strap on different combinations of rockets.
Right.
This combination gets you to an asteroid, to planet. This gets you to the backside of the moon. This gets you to Mars. So you don't prescribe what it is you're going to do next in space. You let the creativity and imagination of all those who ever look up say, this is what I want to do. And say, here you go. 2 rockets from aisle B, a booster from aisle C. You're on your way.
I put that on a credit card.
Yeah. That's right.
Here we go. All right. Adam of the Airwaves wants to know this from Instagram. How far behind do you think astronomy would be if the Earth didn't have a moon? Wow.
Okay, so it's not how far behind, right? It's how far advanced. Okay, so let me split this out.
Yeah.
I tweeted during Space Week, the 50th anniversary of the Apollo 10 landing. There's a saying that's common in the space circles. That's, if God wanted us to explore space, he would have given us a moon.
Mm.
So that's a good saying. Yeah. But that exploration is not astrophysicists' exploration. That one is people going into space. Right. We build a rocket to go where? To move to business. If you talk about astrophysics, do you know how many stars the naked eye can see?
More than I can count.
No, it's not about 4,000.
Oh, really?
Unaided, yeah. Binoculars, it's 100 times.
Yeah.
Telescopes, it's 1 billion times. But eyes, 3,000 or 4,000 stars.
Okay.
When it's a full moon out, 300 stars.
Yeah.
The moon needs to have it in our ability to see the rest of the universe. So our observing standard with huge telescopes are small according to dark time or bright time. If you have bright time observations, if the moon is up, you can only look at bright objects in the night sky. The deep universe only comes to us when the moon is not up. So the moon is basically a pain in the neck.
It's a star block. Wow.
Yes, star block.
Look at that.
That's what it is. So astronomy would be probably half again more advanced because we would have had the greatest telescope in the world looking at the night sky twice as often. Right. In the darkest parts of the night sky.
Wow.
Next.
Yeah, good answer. Okay. This is Eversipor. I don't know what this thing cares. I'm sorry.
That is clear.
Let me tell you something.
But the last time he's going to be asking you a question.
All right. Well, you know what your name is. I'm going to call you George. All right. So George wants to know this. What is the shape of space's sun?
That's a good question. Well, space can be curved in the presence of matter or energy, as described by Einstein's general theory of relativity. And there's the often repeated saying, matter tells space how to curve. Space tells matter how to move. So space has curvature in the presence of matter and energy. It curves in towards the ultimate expression of that, a black hole. Where it curves in, it never curves back out. Right? If you want to ask, what is the shape of all of space? That's like saying, what's the shape of the universe? It's basically a perfect sphere.
Wow.
Right? Because it's your horizon. Right. It's a perfect sphere the way when you're at sea, your horizon is a perfect circle. That's right. Same distance as the Earth. That's right.
You're just out and there's a
Right. And so what is the three-dimensional version of a circle? A sphere. A sphere. So in space, you can see your horizon in everywhere, and the directions all at once. It makes us think we're at the center of that sphere. But that's no different from you thinking you're at the center of the ocean. Right. Just because you're the center of your horizon.
That's
Next.
that's great. That's good stuff right there. There we go.
Yo.
He says, if in all directions, developing our bigger one now.
I have to rephrase that because as you look out, you see things not as they are,
Right.
but as they were.
Right.
So you are looking at a younger and younger and younger universe. That's the whole point of cosmology. It allows the fact that it takes lifetime to exist allows us to see what the universe was doing in the past. Right. If light traveled at infinite speeds, you see the whole universe as it is now. There's no evidence of what it was once doing. But because it takes lifetime to do it out, you see a younger and younger and younger and younger universe until you see that stuff. And that is 14 billion light years time away from us in every direction. Okay? 14 billion years ago.
Right.
Okay? And if you calculate that distance through that changing time, it's 14 billion light years to that horizon. Okay? So, but that horizon is much farther away today.
Right.
Because the universe is expanding.
I did.
You see it as it is today. You see it as it was. All right. So, I don't know what you're saying.
I say, yeah.
One last question. Should I do a quick
Right. I don't follow this.
You don't know how quick I can answer.
Okay, let's make a step. I'm going to give you one. Here we go. This is Basan. Okay, I don't care what this is. I'm sorry.
All right, Chuck.
Okay. Basan. Here's the name right here. What's that say? It said, you're right, that's what it is. Basan. I missed this. Yeah, okay. What, if all the matter that we see in the universe is just three-dimensional part of some four-dimensional matter, and the dark gravity is just the gravity from the 4D part that we cannot see?
I love it. We are so blind to a higher dimension.
Right.
It could be that all the mysteries in our 3 dimensions plus time are completely solved by looking at this stuff from a higher dimension. Right. Just, if you lived in just a flat surface, there'd be stuff going on you have no idea.
Right.
And we say, look, can't you just see?
Yeah.
Just look up. Right.
What is that giant graphite thing making creating stuff?
Right. On that
flat surface.
Right.
What is that?
Right. Where is he? It's mysterious. It just shows up. Right. So I love it. That's the kind of universe I want it to be. Because then when we figure out how to see higher dimensions, boom, we figured everything. A lot of things. All the stuff you got to run.
All right.
I enjoy that. Content creation. It's just.
Mm. So,